Hello everyone, welcome to the episode number 79 of Q&A series with Suresh GP. Today, we're going to talk about a very important episode on how do we shift from monitoring to observability, particularly from a tools and recommendation perspective. A lot of times, they ask TaUB Solutions as a consulting company when we do a lot of focus on site reliability engineering, helping people moving from monitoring to observability. Some of those nuances of what we need to take into picture when we actually implement observability using tools that could be open source to proprietary tools to in-house tools. So this episode is going to focus on areas that we need to think when we move from monitoring to observability and some of those recommendations that you need to keep in mind when you are incorporating a tool as part of your tool chain. Number one, first is monitoring part. And I hope that you would do a due diligence of measuring the golden signals of monitoring. So starting from your errors, which is your 400, 500 errors, your throughput, which is more of the transactions rate, number of concurrent users who are hitting on your server. Then we look at latency, the amount of time that takes to load the page, and also about saturation, right? Ensuring that there is not much of problems in terms of performance, and you take enough amount of precautions to handle these four signals of monitoring. Now, once you do that, you need to move into the next zone that we talked about as observability, right? So, are you able to collect the metrics, events, logs, and traces? Now, if you are having a distributed system, look at my previous episode, which talks about areas of how observability helps in cloud native applications. So, focus on creating metrics, traces, and logs. You can also look at one of the important standard called open telemetry. Now, open telemetry helps you an option of automatic instrumentation. So whether you're using different tools, which is for APM tools, it gives you a collector mechanisms to understand how we can leverage automatic instrumentation. Now, we also know in the predictive state, we talk about AI ops. So you need to start thinking about aggregating your data from different sources. Make sure that it is building up a data source, which is what we call as a single source of truth. And then that process this information through AI ML models to finally deliver the value. The fourth one is, are we able to understand the relationship between components? Today we are looking at a distributed working environment. There are multiple systems that needs to finally deliver a service. So how do we ensure that these elements help you progress in the right direction to look at the different components, their dependencies, and their implications of how things will be more meaningful to start deliver value. Finally, we should also look at something called as automatic instrumentation, automatic remediation. Now, what does it mean for us? If I look at AOps as a case that we are trying to build an automatic remediation, one of the principles is to find out what are the likelihood of these incidents that could reoccur. So you're able to start thinking about how likely am I able to predict something going wrong. So if I need to predict something that is going to go wrong, then we need to have some remedial measures. For example, if an Exchange server is going down often, then we know some of those root cause of it. There could be one to many reasons. Once you understand the specific reason something went down, then we can start building self-healing auto-remediation scripts so that the next time it happens, it starts triggering and then it will execute it so that you don't need to spend a lot of time to fixing these issues. Remember, one of the primary goals of site reliability engineering is to reduce toil. So if you are able to look at all the different possible reasons that something will go wrong, you can start building auto-remediation scripts, self-healing mechanisms so that it will take care of itself. So it reduces the toil, but you also free up your time. So you need to focus on making sure that as an SRE, as an observability expert, you move from reactive, which was incident management / even monitoring, because it just shows you symptoms. Then we go into proactiveness, which is more about event correlation, looking at the different data sources that we talked about on the observability, to level of predictiveness, where AI ops machine learning will start giving you tools and resources that we can take into consideration to implement it at our workplace and get the required results. Now, this is a journey, this is a marathon, but it's a good starting point to start thinking about how do we leverage observability AOps in your tools. So if you are looking at for a tools and recommendations, I would probably ask you to start evaluating in all these criteria. Do you have a sufficient good standard of monitoring? Are you tracking the golden signals of monitoring? Are we able to track metrics, events, logs, and traces? Are we able to put that composition of components that are distributed and how they all work together? And then start looking at AI, machine learning capabilities, so that we are able to look at the existing data and start to avail some of those intelligence using self-healing and auto-remediation. I hope that this episode was helpful for you to understand some of those recommendations from moving from monitoring to observability, including the tools that you can take into consideration. And remember, do not forget about the Open Telemetry, which is a product of CNCF, Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which gives you a great opportunity to build auto instrumentation and understand unknown unknowns. So I hope you will take advantages of the Q&A series of these principles and practices. But if you want to have a deep dive into much more than what we are discussing as part of Q&A series, do sign up for our Observability Foundation as well as AOps Foundation. The links are given below in the comment section. Please reach out to us and we would be more than happy to sign you up for the next upcoming session to become deployable into projects and enhance your career. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in our next episode of Q&A series with Suresh GP. Until then, keep watching and sharing your comments on areas that you want to cover in the future episodes. Thank you very much.